That Was Yesterday podcast is brought to you by Define Mind and Body Wellness, my wellness center here in Glastonbury, Connecticut, where we specialize in holistic services to help shortcut the process so that you can see results fast, but learn to do it in a habitual way. So many of the topics we talk about are part of the program that our clients receive, except they get much more in-depth detail. Also, my workbook of the 10-week program to lose and never look back, which is only available to our patients at Define. If you are interested in holistic body fat spot reduction, or our pod to increase your metabolism, or our cold plunge, or our sauna, which is the best sauna in the world, that I promise you. I know that sounds biased, but you'll see for yourself. Please go to definewellnesscenter.com. You will be prompted to put your information in, and make sure to mention podcast when you do, as you will be eligible for a bigger discount on our introductory services because you are a listener. Appreciate you. Have a great day and enjoy today's podcast.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the That Was Yesterday podcast. I am your host, Joe Carabase, and today we are talking about how to get in and stay in shape, how to get healthy in 2026, because it's not as simple as just eating better and working out. If I had $1 for every time a patient has told me, like, yeah, my doctor told me I need to lose weight, and she's like, no shit. Like, yeah, obviously that's something that needs to be done, but like the how is the hard part. And here's the deal that you probably don't give yourself enough credit for. I guarantee you, and I'm not trying to be like crude here or scary, but like if I put a gun to your head, you'd be able to tell me what it is that you could do to work out and what it is you could do to eat better. That would at least move you in the right direction. Like, it's definitely overwhelming. I get it. But like, you still at your core know things that you could do that would help. Now, that said, it's not that easy, right? It's not a light switch. You can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to do that. Oh, I didn't think of eating better and working out this entire time. Holy crap, doctor. Thank you so much for that great advice. Let me go work on those things. No. So there's a lot there, right? And that's, especially as a woman, it's so complex. The body's so complex and everly expanding in complexity as you age, right? It's not fair, but it is what it is. So like, there's a lot to navigate. So in this video, and that's also a podcast, and this podcast is also a video on the Reveal Project YouTube channel. So if you haven't gone there yet, make sure to go there and subscribe, because there is going to be a lot of content there that will not be on this podcast, but some messages like this need to be shared in both mechanisms. And honestly, they're sometimes good to listen to the audio because you can do it when you exercise, you walk, you drive, but you can also watch the video at other times for different types of insights, because the video is visual. You can see kind of what I'm talking about here sort of outlined. So, make sure you're subscribed to that if you're not already, and you can just go to youtube.com and search at the Joe Carabase, and that will bring you to the Reveal Project. So subscribe and you'll find all the videos that are currently there and more to come. So today, though, we're going to talk about the process it takes to kind of create change and what's really happening behind the scenes. Because if you can understand how you feel, what you feel, why you feel what you feel, and when I say like that, I mean like the depths of the emotions of what you're feeling, perhaps of being overweight, but also like when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel motivated, like those are two opposing emotions, and yet there's a lot more going on under the surface that oftentimes is not understood. And when you don't understand what's going on under the surface and you just feel overwhelmed or you just feel motivated, I can guarantee you are not going anywhere that you want to go. I can promise you that. Yes, even if you're motivated. And right this time of year, a lot of us get motivated. And that's a good thing. It's never bad to be motivated. But what is bad is to let motivation lead us blindly. In other words, oh, it's New Year's, I'm going to crush this thing. I haven't worked out more than 3 times in the last 3 months, but I'm going to work out 3 times a week. I'm going to do cardio 4 times a week. Excuse me. I'm going to do this diet and that and this and that and that. And that's ultimately, it's motivation disguised as self-sabotage, because that would be too much of a change for that person in that scenario to ever sustain. It's just not going to happen. And honestly, it's not necessary. You don't need to go from 0 to 60. So, but again, like these might be conceptually things that you might understand, but when you find yourself in the emotion of being motivated, or on the other side of things, being overwhelmed and just not knowing where to start, it can really take hold of you. So in any event, that's what we're going to be talking about today. I also wanted to make sure you guys know that this is something that's included for free for all of our Define patients, and I like to call them members, but sometimes patients, they kind of can be interchangeable. However, I have a new online coaching platform where there's different levels, but basically the premier level, which is, where there are weekly check-ins that I respond to. That's good for your accountability. And then I just uploaded, I think 2 or 3 follow-along at-home workouts where I'm there coaching you what to do, how to do it, how to modify, how to do everything, motivating you, the whole thing, as well as follow-along ab workouts. Now, you can't spot reduce your stomach through exercise and diet. However, when you're doing our spot reduction treatments, your cells are open for 24 to 48 hours. And so if you do a 10-minute core workout, which they are 10 minutes, after your stomach slimming sessions, or sometime in that period after, you're going to compound your results. So, and they're motivating, they're follow along, shows you exactly what to do. And spot reduction or not, it's still very important to have a strong core. So that's there. There's a ton of nutrition stuff. There's more hypnosis type audios on there. And again, access to me to be able to help you move forward, and that accountability piece, which is super important. That's kind of like the premier level that is included for every Define member. Above that is a small group coaching where it's more in depth. There's more office hours where I'm kind of taking people through very, personalized stuff and helping them in very specific ways. And then, of course, I have private coaching. But in any event, I would definitely encourage you, if you're not a Define member, to at least check it out on a free trial. And to do that, you just go to definewellnesscenter.com/reveal. And that will give you the opportunity to get a free trial. You can see what it's all about and see if it's something that, you think would be beneficial for you. And certainly if you're a Define patient, you're a Define member, please, please, please take advantage of this. It's super valuable. I promise you that. It's there to help you, honestly. So go ahead, do that. Enjoy today's podcast. If there is somebody who you think could benefit from this, please share it with them. Send them the link through the mechanism that you're listening to the podcast. Encourage them to go to the YouTube channel and subscribe, whichever makes sense to you. But go ahead and enjoy the show.
What's up, guys? Joe Carabase here, hypnotist and owner of Define Mind and Body Wellness here in Glastonbury. I've been coaching for over 20 years, thousands of people of all levels, and there's one thing that always happens this time of year that I've learned that no matter who you are and what your goals are, it can really affect you. And so what I wanted to do today, I'm literally going to turn this camera around as I have this on like one of those chalkboard things, it's not really a chalkboard, but it looks like used chalk, but it's actually kind of like black wallpaper, basically, in any event, and you can't erase it, but so it's not the neatest, bear with me. But I am going to take you through a model in just a few minutes of, it doesn't matter if your goal is weight loss, if it's internal, if it's getting off of medication, whatever it might be, making any healthy habit, this will help with. Let's take a look. I'm literally crouching down because my tripod, I don't think it's tall enough. So here we go. Good thing I got some space in these pants. I got some flexibility so we can make it work. And nice stretch while we're at it. Not bad, huh? All right. So this time, especially until January 1st, I see so many well-intentioned people set high expectations for what's going to happen in January. They're going to lose XYZ weight. They're going to lose XYZ weight. They're going to do all the things, work out 4 or 6 times a week, meal prep, hire this, hire that, buy new shoes, like all the things. Setting these expectations that they're going to do so much and in short order are going to get exactly what they want. And that is self-sabotage 101. Now you can insert business goal, you can insert internal struggle, which by the way, most of our struggles are internal, although as much as they are real in the external, it really exists in the way it's affecting us inside, right? So that's kind of what makes this model so powerful, is that over the years of coaching and all the psychology type stuff that we're working with
through all these life things that happen, finding solutions. On the hypnosis side, though, it's about reprogramming and changing the story. And we can do that through hypnosis, but a lot of the concepts we can also extract. And so this is going to start here. Now you can see, maybe you can't, I have very sloppy handwriting. We're going to get our pen here. But at some point, this whole thing, let's see if we can tilt this up a little bit. There we go. This whole thing starts from the catalyst. Now, right below you see a woman, I work with a lot of women, falling off a cliff. Over the last 20 years, I kid you not, I have worked deeply with thousands of women in menopause. And while I'll never be in that struggle, I have a really good understanding of what that struggle is, having worked with so many women, and it's real. And with the rule of thumb, any woman will tell you is whatever's worked up to that point does not work to the same extent that I once did. So that can be that falling off a cliff thing. Now, men, we also slow down, but we do not slow down to the extent women do. And then various other things can affect this, right? Life change. I found during working in COVID, I was coaching, and I had people, I saw like over as in a cumulative way, there was a good amount of people who were at like a 5 pre-COVID, COVID hit due to all the uncertainty and everything else, they were at a 7. People who were at a 7 were always just, not too much issue, everything was good, okay. They went to a 9 and above. And those who were at a 9 went way up. And so that is a catalyst, right? That's more of a macro catalyst in a way. But it could also be something small. It could be something someone said to you, or maybe putting on something that's tighter than you want it to be. But it's something that's going to get you to take action. Now, we're going to get here. We always end up here, okay? But it's also where we start, because it has to be addressed. This is an iceberg. You can't tell it's an iceberg. This ain't a drawing show, okay? Although I love watching drawing shows. Either way, or You'll Gabba Gabba, my daughter and I watch. The drawing part's our favorite. In any event, this is an iceberg. This is the top. Now, all icebergs, 20% is what we see. The rest mostly is underwater. R.I.P. Titanic, right? They didn't know. And this is the water level. So this is kind of like it is in the psychological structure of our mind. Our conscious mind, what we're focusing on, oftentimes is 20% of what the issue really is. And so that causes the frustration. But because we're focusing on the 20 things, that is a very small part of what's actually going on, more or less how we feel about what's going on, we're getting frustrated with everything around us, right? And that can often lead to this sort of drop-off, is when we feel like we're doing everything right, yet we find ourselves in the same patterns, right? That's because we're focusing on the conscious story that's been rerunning through our head. And so really where it changes when we get into the 80%, that's where everything really sits. That's the potential, that's the pain. Once we release the pain, it allows for the potential to really run its course. So, all right, let's run through this thing. So we have our catalysts. And then from there, we have there's a book, Small Bet. It's a great book. But small bet, setting a reasonable result within a set amount of time. So what is a small bet? Small bet is so a lot of times, I always use a weight loss example. People are getting ready to lose weight for the new year. What do? They're I got to work out 5-6 days a week. Now, this person hasn't worked out 5-6 times in the last 2 months. But all of a sudden, it's New Year, so they set this expectation, which is, by the way, driven by self-sabotage. More on that later. However, we're not doing that. Not this year. Stop with that, okay? This year, we're going to set a reasonable small bet. So if you didn't work out, and no shame, by the way, it's all good, right? No worries. But if you didn't work out more than twice a week at all last month, then why don't we start with that as a goal, 2 times a week? And it could be anything in between, but it shouldn't be a big step from where you are now. And within that, reasonable results, right? So with that, yes, right, it's always what it is. Yes, you should start with something that's very achievable, and right there, small bet, right? And have the same amount of expectations. It is a small bet. So in other words, don't expect to lose 20 pounds in 30 days. Again, that'd be a self-sabotage thing. Instead, just expect to feel as good as you can feel for having done that. And know that no matter what you start with, whether it's a 10-minute workout, whether it's 2 workouts a week, doesn't matter. When you do it routinely, you will soon start to feel accumulation of shifts hormonally, with your emotions, certainly your body, which drives healthier habits, which makes you want to do more and more. So start there. But, when you start there, guys, let's see if I can get to, I can get this thing higher. Look at this. It's been a minute since I've filmed, seriously. Holy cow. There we go. Look at that. All right, don't stretch down anymore. All right. Ants. Automatic negative thoughts. These happen. They come into your head whenever there's something you want to do. And this is what it sounds like. Reasons why you can't, you shouldn't, you won't. Why now is not a good time. Why X, Y, Z won't work for you, right? Whatever it is, they're going to be there. They're automatic. And you know what? It's part of a survival mechanism within the brain. So it's normal. So don't fight them. Don't allow yourself no shame in what you feel, because that is a part of the process. In fact, that means you're on the path, right? Remember when we started, there was a catalyst, but now you're on the path, right? So this is going to happen, and you're going to have down days and down moments. So you're human. Sorry to say, you're messy, I'm messy. Everybody who's ever existed is. The idea of perfectionism is a part of that self-sabotage momentum. You got to be really careful of during this stage you're starting to pick up momentum. So you got to allow yourself some grace and know that you're going to have these moments and these days. The best thing you could always do is just get right back up, right? And that's why you need to have a preliminary plan. Now, a preliminary plan, notice how these puzzle pieces are not complete because there's only a couple of things that you want to start doing. So using our weight loss example, you don't need to meal prep every Sunday, work out as many times as we talked about. Then on top of that, go walking and do Peloton with Sally and whatever, and then walk around during little Jimmy's basketball class. You don't need to do all of that. How about this? Let's exercise twice a week. Let's drink half your body weight in ounce of water per day. Let's prioritize protein every time you eat. First thing. Don't worry about anything else, but just have protein first. What if we just start there? Those 3 things. Do those 3 things for me. Tell me you don't feel better in 30 days, right? That would be a very basic preliminary plan. And you know what? Here's the thing with preliminary plans. It's like Mike Tyson. I wish I could do a Mike Tyson impression. I can't. I can't do justice. I ain't going to do it. Robert De Niro, though? Kind of, not really. Anyway, the preliminary plan is there for you to start and build, right? Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. That was a Mike Tyson quote. It is true. And part of self-sabotage, see how that keeps coming up, is procrastination by over-analyzing everything that's going on. And so just know it's going to be imperfect, take action steps, and then build on them. And the other part of the puzzle analogy here, I'm big on visuals. In hypnosis, you need visuals. The subconscious knows visuals. It's easy for the subconscious. And so in this way, look at how they just need to fit, right? Not everything is going to fit. And that's an important thing. Just because it worked for XYZ doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And just because they said they did that doesn't mean they did that to get to where they are. You don't know. So don't play up that game. Trust me, you're going to drive yourself crazy. Look, we've all made that mistake. It's hard not to on social media. But at the end of the day, your story is your story. What works for you? Let's focus on that. Now, this point where things get started, we start to follow through on the preliminary plan. And then what you're going to notice there is MCM. Oh, look at this. Elevator. So, monitor, correct, monitor. So, what are the things that happens with a preliminary plan? Yeah, the purpose of a small bet to a preliminary plan is that you're going to get action quickly and figure out what works, what doesn't. So you tweak that and then scale out those habits. Do more of what's working, do less of what's not working, versus, waiting, I'm going to wait till this perfect time. And then, but either way, in getting started, you're going to have doubts. Without a question, you're going to miss workouts. Something's going to happen. If you're somebody who deals with chronic pain right now, the answer is not to move. That is not the answer. I help plenty of people who have fibromyalgia, multiple sclerosis, you name it, who their doctor told them and everything under the sun, do not move. You need, don't get me started. a whole other thing. The point is, something's better than nothing. That is progress. And those people, and you are one of them, I don't care who you are, as long as you can move, you need to move. Now, that doesn't mean, though, there's not going to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right? That's why we start slow. We have to make those adjustments, but you got to know they're going to be there. So that's the up and down. You learn, you correct, you go back. You always try to get to neutral, but we're never going to really be there. If you're someone who's living a fulfilled life, you are going to have challenges. It doesn't have to be in business. It could be in, your health. It could be as a mother. It could be as a best friend. There are things that are going to happen that have their peaks and valleys. You already know this to be true. So don't forget, the thing that you're working on right now is the same. And what you've also known, you got to think about the hardest thing you've ever accomplished. That had its ups and downs. And it's important to look back on those things, because when you do, there's another thing we do in hypnosis, age regression. Because when you get back there, you can start to recognize the origin of many of these patterns. And so in any event, we're always trying to get to a baseline. We're never going to quite be there. But when you're challenging yourself, it never can be at a peak. There's always going to be ups and downs. That's part of the game. That's how you get better. All right. So we're rounding third here. So in addition to hypnosis, I do voice dialogue, which is basically facilitating the parts within us, thinking about parts of us or subpersonalities or energies as distinct part of our personality versus who we are, which I think is a mistake so many of us make. We identify ourselves with how we feel, and that keeps you stuck and much worse. So Hal and Cesar Stone were psychotherapists, and they created a concept called voice dialogue, which essentially is this idea of mind mapping, the primary self, the disowned parts, the parts that live within you, some that are too active, some that are less active. And so the idea is to regulate that conversation as an inductor would an orchestra, bringing everything into a rhythm. And that would put you at the higher self, like you, who you are at your core, where things feel so right, how you know you want to feel. If you could write a story, it'd be how you would feel this way. That's your highest self, and that's in you at all times. But these parts, for a lot of reasons, come into our lives, and very good reasons, by the way, but they take over control. And that can really mess with all the manifestations you have in your life. Things that aren't going your way, there's likely something going on inside, and these parts have something to do with it. And Hal and Cesar Stone expanded upon Carl Jung's work with talking about the shadow. And basically, no matter where you go, there it is, right? The stuff that is in you that you're not acknowledging, if you don't address it, it stays with you. And really what we see happen is it manifests. It manifests from internal into physical. Could be disease, could be injuries, but it happens. I've seen it time and time again. And so we have to regulate these parts. And there's simple practices you can take. An easy way to start is just a journal. And in a journal, you can use a sentence stem like, a part of me, and name that part. So a part of me, whatever this part is, feels whatever. Say whatever. But what the idea is you're writing it as that part. You're letting it speak. You're creating separation. And when you create separation, you're inviting objectivity. You get clarity. So you can start to see yes, I see why I feel that way, but there is a way out of feeling that way. What could that be? Whereas when it's in our head, it's hard to take action. So that helps where we started, right? That helps the 80%. And again, this is a cycle, because here's the reality that not a lot of people like to tell you. And I'm not saying this to keep me in business either, because it's true in my life as well, which is this challenge that if you follow this process and you put the effort in, you will overcome it. There's not a question of doubt in my mind. I know you will. There's no questions asked. I know for a fact you will. You just got to commit to it. And when you do, though, you're going to have another goal. And this whole thing is going to start again. And perhaps there's other things in your life that you're going to recognize. This is a pattern that works in all things. But it is a part of living. It's the overhead of life, I've heard it once said, where things are going to continue to happen. It's just what it is, right? So you pause your life and you put your health down the toilet, or you find a way. That is for you to decide. So that is all for today. Excited to be here. It's been a while. And I do invite you guys to join my school. You can check it out. It's a free week. Come see what it's all about. Check out some of my plans. Interact with the community. I be there live as well. And see you next video.